This is my dad's Triumph Stag. It is a left-hand drive automatic, which he got while we lived in the States. I've got a couple of stories about me in this car, which I'll tell you later. But it made me hate the car for a long time because of the troubles I had with it. But we're going to go for a drive, and we're up in Scotland, and so we're going to go and do the NC 500. We're heading off tomorrow. The plan is to do it over 3 days, so it's going to be quick, and it's to give the car a real good run and enjoy it. So today we have just been going over it just to make sure we're happy with everything. So we've talked the bolts and wheel nuts and things like that, checked all the fluids. When we were talking about this 6 months ago, we realised that the rear boots needed changing, and John did have the plan for me to do it today before we went off, and a few other things, and he decided it was probably better to get someone else to do it and not risk me getting it all done in a day. So today we're just going to go off and have a gentle drive, get me used to driving a left-hand drive automatic before we start the long trip tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes. First story about me driving this car was I had gone to pick up some bits and pieces for my dad whilst he was at work. So it was 100 miles away or something is where we had to go to get the bits, because it was the only place that had them. And I'm driving back, and maybe 3 or 4 miles from home, so you know, after a while, and I would have been 16 at the time, so I was quite young, and there was this hill that you came down. It was a quite steep hill, and you had to stop at the bottom. There was a main road going across, so you had to stop, give way, and then I went straight across and up the other end. And I must have been going a little bit fast, because it came to that hill and I hit the brake, and the engine started revving and the car started going faster, and I'm pressing on the brakes as hard as I can, and the engine's going like mad. And anyway, we got to the bottom of the hill, and without any chance to do anything else, I just took my foot off the brake and slammed on the accelerator, shot across as fast as I could. I then pumped the accelerator, and eventually the engine stopped revving. So a bit of a heart-beating moment. Anyway, I drove it the rest of the way home, the last few miles, and got it there and explained what had happened. And we took off the rear tyres. We had a look at them. These were radial tyres, so they had metal in them, and I think we've got a photo, and I'll see if I can find it. We've got a photo of me with these tyres, and you can see the metal from the tyre about how hard I had been braking. And we opened up the bonnet and we took a look inside, and the accelerator cable, the accelerator cable was there, but it's got a bit on there which looks like it had flipped over and jammed in place. Now, I don't know if that's really what had happened, or I'm going to show you my foot, but I think what might have happened is I hit the accelerator and the brake together. So I think what might have happened is I was coming down that hill and going a bit fast, and I had probably caught my foot there and done this and got them both, and then I pressed harder and harder and harder and just kept pressing against them both. I wouldn't have done it like that, so it would have had to be my foot getting across the two like that. Now, it's a possibility if I was wearing quite a big boot type thing, which I might have been back then. I don't know. Anyway, it was scary, really, really scary. And if I can find the photo, I'll put it up for you to see. My second scary moment in this car, also a my God, am I going to live through this type moment, was again in the States, and it's on the highway, needing to turn left. across the highway. And we were at some traffic lights, and there was a left filter lane, so I was in the filter lane. I was waiting for the lights to turn, and coming the other way was an American 18-wheeler. So I mean, these are big trucks, not like the big trucks in Britain or Europe. These things are, just huge. And it was coming along a bit fast, and the lights turned red, and this guy slammed on his brakes, and you could see the smoke coming out from the tyres. I mean, and really how he was going to control the thing, I don't know. And he was coming straight at me, and I was just sat here in the car panicking, and I had my mum next to me in the passenger seat, and she was going, "Henry, go, get out of the way." And I'm going, "I can't get it in reverse." So I was trying to reverse away from him rather than just turn and avoid him that way. And I couldn't have reversed anyway because there was someone behind me. So it was scary. Anyway, this guy somehow, I don't know how he missed me, but he got enough slow down on it and then whipped himself around and across our set of lanes, and we still had, our guys had a green light to go forward, but everyone managed to, I mean, I don't know how everyone missed, but that was a real dirty pants type moment as well. And so I drove home from there, and then I really wasn't very keen on this car for a long time after those two events, and I don't actually know if I've driven it particularly since then. I might have driven it a little bit since then, I must have done, but it has been years. So fun! I hope we don't have one of these, so we'll see. So we're going to do the NC 500. That's the North Coast 500. So I came up to my parents. From here to Inverness, I think it's about 200 miles. So we've got that to do. Then we got the 500 miles of the route, and then 200 to get back again, or something like that. And we're going to do it over 3 days. When we booked this, I hadn't realised a lot of it is single lane, so it's going to be quite a drive. But we'll see how it goes. Today, a bit of a practice. This is us heading off, and first use of the dash cam. So as you can see, we got off fairly early at 3 minutes past 8, and we'd had a cooked breakfast, so we were well set for the day. Now, the plan for the day was to head from home to Inverness, which is where the NC 500 starts. That was expected to take us about 2 hours and 43 minutes and was 120 miles. From Inverness, we were going to head on to Brora Beach, and I'm going to apologise for my pronunciation the whole way through this, but on to Brora Beach, which was another hour and 10 minutes and 63 miles, and that's where we were planning to have some lunch. From there, we were going to head on to the Wallingo Steps, about an hour away and 30 miles, and we do stop there, we head down, we have a little look about, and I'll show you a bit of video from that and some photos. Then on to John O'Groats, which in theory another 35 minutes, 27 miles. Then our plan was to head on to Thurso, another half hour, 20 minutes, 20 miles, sorry, I mean, which would actually give us a driving time for the day of just under 6 hours. In the end, we actually visited Dunnet Head as well. So John O'Groats is in theory, the place furthest away from Land's End, to give you the longest drive in the UK from one place to another. Although I think there's somewhere else, but Dunnet Head is the most northerly place in the UK, and so that's why we popped up there as well. So that was the plan for the first day. I'm not going to show all of that driving, but you can see us leaving, and I'm about to skip to Inverness, and we can have a look at what it's like there. So this is a bit further on. We still haven't got to Inverness. We're just north of Inverurie. and I thought we would just show you some of that autumn colour that we got on the left-hand side. Now I think we lucked out in our visit because we managed to get lots and lots of autumn colour, but we seemed to have gone and not when it was a half-term week, and so the roads were actually really nice and quiet for us. So we didn't get stuck in any of the single traffic kind of work, any of the single traffic elements of the route. We have just stopped at Inverness in the Tesco car park for petrolling, and then we're going to head off. So this is really the start of the NC500 now, and we'll see what we can pick up. We're actually going to skip the very beginning because, and I'll get a map out and show you the NC500 at some point, or I already have done. We'll see how I put this together, but the very beginning overlaps with the very end, and so we're just going to skip across and take out a few miles at the start. So far, well, actually my dad was clearly going faster than the allotted time, so we're slightly ahead of schedule for the start. So there we are. So this is the NC500 website, and you can see here we start at Inverness. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on it. Okay, so we can see here we start at Inverness, and the route goes this way and around. Now we decided to cheat a little bit. Can I expand that? Yeah, here we go. We decided to cheat a little bit because we were going to do from here to here anyway on the way back. We thought that we would nip across this bridge, and from here we then headed down the A835 up here, and we joined the route there. So the first bit of clip is actually us not doing the NC500 but skipping parts of the NC500. From there we continue on up and up and up. And so I missed it. Where did we stop? Well, we'll find out soon enough. Okay, so we have this on fast forward, but this is us just skipping through the little bit that I said we were going to skip in order to get to the proper NC500. Actually, that's not quite true. At this point, we're already on to I think the NC500, and I've lost the video from the little bit of skipping across, but we have already got the coast on our right as we head up the north coast, and we have at this point quite a lot of agricultural land to our left. Yeah. Oh, look at the TR6 on there.
What was it?
TR6 at the bottom.
Was it a 6?
It was either a 6 or a 5.
Yeah.
Our plan was to stop at Brora Beach for lunch, but we couldn't actually, and we were hoping to stop at the coast so we could have views. What we found was we had golf courses along our right and cultivated land on our left, so we didn't really get that choice. But we took us an hour and 42 minutes to get to where we stopped for lunch, and we stopped and had a bit of pork pie and cheese and all those kinds of good things. We were hoping to find somewhere around there to stop, or something similar back that way. And we have gone off the road off the main road once or twice to try to find something, but each time we end up with a links course in our way, or farmyard. So we've just decided to stop here and grab some food. And not the nicest place to stop, but wow, the countryside's just stunning. Our next planned stop is the Wallingo Steps, and I'll leave you to have a little search on the internet while they're about. Took us 50 minutes to get there, and then we had another little break. At this point, I would just like to point out it's very easy to tell when I'm driving and when John is driving, because he goes a lot quicker than me. So just keep an eye on the speedometer. And this is us having had our lunch break and done a bit of a drive, and we're turning up at the Wallingo Steps, which is a visitors area to climb down and get down to the coast. So the Wallingo Steps uneven surface. So we've also got here the John O'Groats northbound southbound path. So I'm not quite sure where that goes to. That would be a heck of a trek. Okay, the steps go off down there. Here we are up at the top. Someone walking to the end of that little bit. Okay, I've got a bit further down, around the corner. And I'm just going to lean over the edge. And where you can see down the corner, and you can see someone just there. So that's the way down. I'm not doing that. I saw some people coming up, they were struggling to get back up. But it is, I guess if I had all day I might consider it. Ta-da! Not even puffed. So we're heading off to John O'Groats now, which is the point on the UK mainland, which is from there to Land's End. It's meant to be the longest drive or longest distance. I think there's actually something further to the I think there's a lighthouse a bit further off to the east, but we'll call this good enough. And so this is us coming into John O'Groats just 39 minutes later. So here we are at John O'Groats, 273 miles from Edinburgh, 874 Land's End, 3,000 something New York, 8 miles Orkney and the Shetlands. Unfortunately, there's no road going that way. I guess we need the Scandinavians to pop over and build some of those bridges they do that connect everything together over there. But we can see some islands out there. I don't know how well we see them through the camera. There we go. The trip from John O'Groats to Dunnet Head took us 29 minutes against a forecast 33. It's just 20 miles. So this is us arriving. So here we are at Dunnet's Head, which is a lighthouse. There we are, most northerly point of mainland Britain. The final stint of day one takes us from Dunnet's Head to the Premier Inn in Thurso, so that's where we stayed for the night. Overall views on day one were, first of all, coast on the right, which you never really got that close to because of golf courses, and mostly cultivated land on your left as you were heading up. So from a view point of view, it was a little bit disappointing. But I did enjoy the driving, and actually I was still thinking, wow, this is really good. So I guess it was after the second day's driving that I thought the views were disappointing. So the other bit of this is I've done lots of fast forward, and the reason for doing that is so that you get actually to see lots of the countryside as we're going along, and you can see what the drive is really like with a bit of a voiceover. I have about 8 hours, and even that wasn't, everything. So we're trying to let you see as much as possible, and the beauty of it. And even when we went wrong, as you just saw there, we went around a bit of a loop, so that you can see where we get to. So first day total driving ended up being 6.5 hours instead of 6 hours, and the actual elapsed time was 8 hours and 45 minutes. So that gives you some idea of how long we were going. So day two coming up next. Right, so day two of the NC 500 takes us along this route from somewhere around here, which is roughly where Thurso is, and we come along, and this around here is where the famous bridge for it is. I can't remember Kylski or Kylskew. It's somewhere around here. This is, and I managed to not really get much video until around here, so apologies for that. We continued on to Gairloch, which I think is here or thereabouts. We did stop. This region here is a UNESCO area, a geopark, and we stopped at a cafe for lunch, the UNESCO cafe, and it was wonderful. Just after the bridge on your way south, maybe 2 or 3 miles, I would recommend stopping there for your lunch on the day. I managed to lose a lot of the dashcam footage for day 1, and so what we've got here is a bit of some of the footage when I was just holding my phone up and videoing. Apologies for that. Wipe the window. First place we stopped on day 1 was Dounreay, and this is I have no idea what it is, but apparently my grandfather worked there years and years and years ago. He died before I was born, so I never met him, and so we stopped here just as a bit of a family memento. We're just having a quick stop and change of driver on a section of road which is all single track, and we just came along this parking area, and there are lots of camper vans behind me. People have parked for the evening, and then if we go down in here, you can see just there, I can find it right in the middle anyway, someone is still swimming. As you can see from the short clips that you've seen so far and the images, the landscape has changed, and it's changed really dramatically. You see photos of the NC500 and Northwest Scotland, and you think, oh well, these are professionals taking photos, but honestly, after every turning or over every brow, or wherever you go, the views are just stunning. And if I can take a decent photo, then it's stunning. So that's what we spent our time doing, is going ooh, ah, whoa, wow. Now the plan for day 2 was to go from Thurso to Dounreay. We tried to pick up the split stone at Melvich, but we missed it, and then on to Durness, and that was the first bit of the journey. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to capture any video, or I didn't manage to keep any of the stuff on the way to Durness, and so this is us much further down the line, and we will shortly be coming into Kyle School, where we stopped for lunch. And this is us just heading over the bridge that is in Kyle School, and we stopped at a UNESCO cafe a few minutes further down, where we had some organic butternut squash and coconut soup, and some wonderful oatcakes. After lunch, we had an hour's drive to Lochinvar, and I've just got the one image of it. It's just a gorgeous, it's a gorgeous loch. How many weren't gorgeous? Well, I could probably say none of them weren't gorgeous. So, but a nice drive. I guess we grumbled a little bit about the weather because it did rain on us most of the time, and we think the views would have been even more spectacular if they hadn't been there. But I have to say, the rain gave it a nice sort of dark feel as well, very atmospheric, so quite wonderful. Now over this clip you can see we're on a single track, and you can see us going past passing places. You can also see we're actually not having to worry about other cars at all. So this is why I said I thought we got really lucky with when we went. There was no problem at all. I think there was only once when we had two cars come in the other way in order for passing. So really the passing places weren't an issue for us at this time of year. I can imagine if you were had a caravan and were towing, this would be a little bit more daunting, especially at some of the other single track bits. However, there are signs for caravans to divert around some of these more difficult bits. So yeah, let's keep going to Lochinvar. After that very brief stop where we took a couple of photos, but that was the only one I seem to have captured, we continued on to Corey Shallock Gorge, and we got a bit more video from there. So that was another hour and a half away, and let's just continue enjoying some of this great views. We're at a gorge, which name I can't remember, but we've got the water coming along here, very pretty, and suddenly disappearing. Let's go see where it goes. So I've got my hand on the rail because I really don't do hikes at all well, and oh bloody hell. Actually a bit worried about dropping the phone. Oh, there's a viewing platform just there, but I don't know if I'll be able to stand out over this. So this is the Carry-Off or something like that gorge, and yeah, I'm back to the safety of land now. That's a proper video of it falling down to there. The gorge really was stunning and a lot deeper than's come across in either these photos or the video. Well worth a visit if you get a chance. And then we ran into car trouble.
Release. No, you shouldn't have to press the accelerator like that. Right, go on. Blip. That's the last thing you need, Henry, I think.
Sure.
Don't keep doing that.
You're going to have a go, are you?
Yeah.
No, he'll start it immediately. Right, I'm going to mute it because that buzzing goes on and on and on, and you can't actually hear us talking on the outside. But we were having a look at things. We wondered if that was my father just pointing at there's a fuel cut-off over there, making sure that hadn't flipped, but you could smell the fuel. So given it was turning over but not starting, we wondered if maybe there was something in the electrics. So we did have a look at the making sure the sparks looked okay. We considered whether or not it was the coil, but we didn't actually suggest it to each other and only talked about it afterwards. And unfortunately I didn't capture us starting it, but once we had allowed the fuel to dissipate from flooding it, John got in and started it first time. And the issue was fundamentally that when that engine's warm, you just need to give it the right amount of petrol as you're starting it, and you don't start with anything on there. You do the engine and then you give it probably a couple of inches on the accelerator, and I was either giving it too much or too little. So once we had that sorted, we were good to go, and off we went. The final bit of the drive on day 2 was from the gorge to Gairloch. It's another hour and 10 minutes or thereabouts, and we managed to drive along with the sun in our eyes, and there was one point where we actually had to stop because it was so bad I couldn't actually see the road as I was going along. So day 2 was 229 miles, and our estimated drive time was 6 hours 40. Our actual drive time was 7 hours 17, and the elapsed time was 9 hours 36 because of brakes and things like that. So it was another really, really nice day. The difference in landscape was just stunning, and you really do get quite a different view. So the north of Scotland, right up in the north, it's much more rugged. You come then into it's kind of wild and rugged. You come into the lochs a bit further down, and there's a different kind of beauty to them. But it really is absolutely worth going up and seeing it and enjoying it for yourself. As you can see, the road really did, the clouds really did clear up for us towards the end of the day, and so we got some really nice views and some nice colour and cloud formations, as well as the beautiful countryside. So general impressions of day 2 are don't skip this part of the NC 500. If you're going to do bits, you can try to avoid the East Coast, although I'm not sure how you would. But once you start heading over from the top there, it's just amazing. The roads are really fun to drive, and single track we were lucky with for this stint because of no other traffic. We're not burning along and ridiculous speeds, and so it's just really nice to drive in an older car, and I don't mean too old. We did discuss whether or not we would want to consider doing it in the Morris, and we both were quite clear that we wouldn't want to try driving this in the Morris 8. So, but something from the 70s or 60s or even 80s, I think, would be a really, really great drive. And at the hotel where we stayed for our second night in Gairloch, we came across quite a number of MGs in the parking lot who appeared to be on their own little drive.
We've arrived at a hotel for the night and parked up.
And it looks like there's a club here tonight because we've got an MGA. I had to pop back out now that the truck has gone, or the bus. So we have a MGF, an MGB V8, very nice, and then the MGB GTs that I was showing you earlier, all looking in really quite lovely condition. And here we have the, is that an MG, is it a TD? Or is it just a D, in fact, MG, oh I don't know. And then midget and another B. And here's someone who likes to chock his wheels by the look of it. Day 3 took us from Gairloch here, where we just had that wonderful sunset, and we came around, and this here is where it gets single track and very steep. So if you're going to skip bits, there is a bit here to skip. I think there's a main route that comes through here, and there is one. It might be as far up as here, it might be as far south as there. But there are a couple of places where you can actually cut out bits, and I think you can even cut out this bit if you really need to and cut across. So there are bits you can do to avoid some of the single track. I would advise anyone with a caravan to avoid some of this because I wouldn't want to do it, but then that's me. All right, so we came along here, then headed back across to Inverness, and you can see the landscape changing. As soon as you leave here, you can see it changes immediately back to that much more agricultural type landscape, which is also very gorgeous, but it is different to what you get on the west coast. And from Inverness, we then headed down in a slightly different way to Stonehaven, which is here on the right, and instead of taking these main roads, we came back through the Cairns through Ballater here. So we had some wonderful driving on the way back as well as on the way there. So I managed to lose a lot of video again from day 3. So we have some photos here of the route, generally in the order that we were going through, because they were dated and timestamped, so that's how I know. The plan today was to go from Gairloch to Kinlochew to Sheldaig onto Canalkill, then Applecross, Loch Carron, Annashan, Inverness, and then back to Stonehaven through Ballater. And we did do all that. Applecross is an area with a very, very steep ascent and descent along a single track, and that was probably the most difficult bit of driving in the whole route, and I might actually show some of that just in regular motion. Let me just pause my talking here and sort through the video and see what I think. This is the element that I was thinking about, but it's really boring to watch in regular speed, so I haven't done that. That guy got his bonnet up.
Sorry?
Yet again, my ability to take video dissipated on me. The guy did have his bonnet up. He was driving a Rover 3.5 litre from the 70s, and it was overheating. And I just want to say the Rover engine was overheating and the Stag engine wasn't. Yay! Although, no, not yay, because, you know, the guy
was stuck there. But he was just cooling it off before he went for the rest of the hill on the way up, so he was quite comfortable with where he was. We stopped for lunch in some parking, and out across the railway line we saw the Flying Scotsman heading on past. They did toot for us, but just before I managed to get my phone out to video it, so we missed that element of it. And then we popped off to a shop on the way down to grab some smoked salmon and some smoked brie before continuing on our route. At one point on day 3 we did have a couple of deer running across the road, but I don't seem to have been able to find the footage for that. I had intended to make some comment about deer running away from stags or something like that, but haven't had the opportunity, so I made it up for myself. So you can see the landscape has now reverted again. We've got a lot of cultivated land around us. We're out of the hills, and that's because we've effectively turned the corner and we're heading back to Inverness at this point. And so it's much flatter landscape. So for the final stage of the route, we head back into Inverness, and this is us approaching. So we had a few concerns, I guess, when we started out. So we had the sat-nav with us and a reasonably detailed route map. Actually, we didn't need them. With the exception of Inverness, the NC500 was very clearly signed the whole way around. It also, for a couple of the bits of quite long single track, it had signs for caravans so that they could skip it, and even for motorhomes if they wanted to as well. So there was that opportunity to cut out some of the steeper hills or the narrower winding roads and things like that, which was great. So I'm going to skip driving through Inverness, and then we're going to go on to our drive back home through the Cairngorms. The drive back through the Cairngorms was lovely. It's very beautiful countryside, a bit more like the Beacons, Brecon Beacons, in terms of the way it looks and feels. And so it was a couple more hours of driving. Might have been as much as 3, in fact. And so what do I think about this overall? Well, first of all, would you recommend doing... We effectively did the NC500 in 2 days, plus a bit of time to get back and forth, which is why we took 3. And can you do it in 2 days and do it justice? Well, if you're interested in the drive, then yes, 2 days is great. It's almost perfect for it. If you go from Inverness to Inverness, it is really just a drive. It's a lovely drive, and the countryside is wonderful and everything. If you want to see anything, 2 days isn't enough. And if you're happy just driving along and seeing the countryside that way, that's great. And we did 1 or 2 stops, and we had plenty of time for that. If we had wanted to see everything there is to see along there, well, we could have taken a couple of months, and we certainly came across one couple who were there stopping in 4 different places over a month. So they were doing it over a month, or stopping a week at each place. And another group we came across were doing it over 3 weeks. So, to really experience and take in everything it has to offer, you need a lot longer. But in an old car like ours, and doing it for the drive, it's just so good. And I would recommend it to anyone. But please go when I'm not going, because I'd rather keep it quieter. And so the other thing I would say is, this time of year, go in, or that's the ski centre in the Cairns, which I was showing video in for my son and wife, who have never skied anywhere but France. So if you're going to go, I would pick your time carefully, and I would say that first week in October was just ideal for us. It would have been nice if we didn't have the rain, but schools are back in, it's not half term, and so it's probably one of the quieter times. And so I would very much do it again, and who knows, maybe if I get one of my TR7s on the road, I will do. Anyway, we will just finish off with me arriving back and saying what I think. But before we do that, excuse me, the final day planned driving was 7.5 hours, and we actually took 8 hours 10 minutes, and we didn't stop much, so our elapsed time was only 8 hours 40 minutes, and we did 264 miles. So for the NC 500, the total mileage that we actually did was 531, and when you include to and from the house, our total mileage over the 3 days was 768. So, very manageable stuff, and really fabulous time. Now let's finish off.
Well, we're back. It was a jolly nice drive, and we didn't have any scary non-accident, which was great. So really enjoyed the drive, and yeah, I'm going to do a bit of a voiceover for the video, but I can honestly say I would recommend doing it over 2 days if you want to enjoy the driving. Back to mechanical work and stuff in the next episode, but I hope you enjoyed the tour of the NC 500.